Fan Chang Ning telling Gong Sun-yin after she's been rescued about how Chang-yin can cry in front of her sister Chang Yu, but Chang Yu has nobody to cry in front of. And that person to her now was her brother-in-law, is a line that stuck with me from the novel, and I think the drama has done such a good job to encapsulate it. Hello and welcome to Talk About Drama, where we talk about what's hard and what's not in the drama world. And today we're going to talk about Pursuit of Jade, also known as Chasing Jade or Ju. And I cannot believe how good the drama is. Like, I'm absolutely having a blast because I saw the trailers and I thought to myself that, I would wait for it to drop at least 20 episodes before I start watching it. And I followed on the first day, and I've been keeping up every single week, and it's a pain because now we're in one episode a day, and but I feel like this is a good point to talk about it because now we have successfully wrapped up Shejung's storyline as Yeonjung, and his identity has been exposed, so everything's going to come to light now. And can I just say, I absolutely, completely love the director, because when the casting was announced, I didn't really pay that much attention to who was directing. And then the BTS routers came out, and I was completely like, how can BTS behind the scene footage look so cinematic? Because we've all seen the routers, right? For a year we've been seeing these, and that is one of the reasons why I started reading the novel, because I couldn't wait. And then I looked up the information on my drama list, and the director is the same guy who did Butterfly Lovers. The killer is also romantic, Provoke, A Familiar Stranger. He's a gem, honestly. He's a gem. Jung Jin-jae, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, because you can see this guy's work bleeding out in every single frame. It's cinematic, it's beautiful, and it's even in the background music, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I really loved Butterfly Lovers' background music. And it's not per se the background music, but it's the opening credit scenes, especially in the first, I think it's like 5-6 episodes, and it's the opening credit sequence background music that plays out, and they've used a version of it in Ju, which I found really interesting. Like, if you watch Butterfly Lovers, if you are on Wiki, watch the opening credits of episode 2. I don't think if the first episode has opening credits, but the second one definitely does. Watch the opening credits of episode 2, and then go to the scene in episode 25 of Pursuit of Jade, where Yeonjung basically barges into the tent, demands the punishment for himself, and once, one of, I think it's Shei-chi, I don't know who the guy is, and once he starts stuttering, Yeonjung speaks out that, you should punish me, and I should bear the punishment for my wife. Like, from that point onwards, not when he enters, from when he requests a punishment, the background music that starts playing is very, very similar to the opening credits of Butterfly Lovers. Like, the tune itself is very similar, and I did hear it a couple of episodes ago. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's there. And I do believe it's a homage to the director's previous works, because I remember in Butterfly Lovers, the couple from A Killer Is Also Romantic appeared. So he does keep continuity that way, and I would love to see if it's my mind playing tricks on me, if it's an actual Easter egg from his previous works. But I love it. I absolutely love it. The story, the way it's been shaped up, because the novel itself is good. Like, I actually quite enjoyed it, but the fact is that, certain points are quite frivolous. And I love the way Shejung, or Yeonjung, actually has been shaped up so far, because he's not your typical cold, unemotional male lead who can't crack a smile. Because Yeonjung is very emotional from very early on. He smiles, he laughs, he takes care of Changning, he's quite attentive, he pouts, he sulks. He's a normal person, even though once he gets into Shejung's skin, he's more cold, he's more unapproachable. But when he's with Changning, Chang Yu, with the Fan sisters basically, or with anybody from the Linan town, he's softer, more approachable. And it's such a good change, because this guy has been living in this house for such a long time. He's been with these people for such a long time. He owes the debt of his life to these people. Why wouldn't he soften up to them? And considering the fact that, since childhood he's been starved for love. His mum died right in front of him. His dad was horrifically killed on the battlefield. He basically had no one left on his side. His uncle was basically a block of ice, and his cousins and everybody loved to torment him. And the first person who selflessly saved him, did everything for him, fed him, clothed him, took care of him, was Fan Chang Yu. And I loved the way they set up these two people. Like, at no point did Yeonjung question the fact that, how can this girl, this scrawny little girl, had the ability to carry me up from the snow? How can she defend against so many people? How is she able to do that? How is she so strong? Because, she's a girl. Because he saw her fighting and he's like, okay, she knows a couple of martial arts moves, and he just moved on. He never questioned it. He never talked down to her. Like even when Chang Ning and Yan Zheng ran away for their lives, when Chang Yu was away in court, Yan Zheng knew Chang Ning's sister would come out looking for her. So his main concern wasn't, I need to protect this child, because he knew realistically he could not, considering his injuries. So to him it was, I need to hold on until she gets here. And that's the thing he told to Chang Ning as well, that, just hold on, hide, and your sister will come and get you. Because he knows that, she's capable enough to take on these people who have literally been trained as suicidal soldiers for this guy who's his uncle, who's basically taught him everything, that his secret army or something equivalent. And he knows that, his sister will be able to face off against these people and take her sister away from their grasp. Like, that is the amount of confidence he has. And it is proven, because when they're fighting against the suicide soldiers, Yan Zheng helps Fan Chang Yu with the maneuvers, because, she is not taught how to kill. She's not taught how to attack. She's taught how to defend. Attacking is different. And even when she's attacking, she's not attacking the vital points. She's doing non-lethal rounds because she doesn't want to kill these people, no matter how horrible they have been. Because killing somebody, getting someone's blood on her hands, is not something that she wants to do. And it's not something that people want to do in the first place, because she is a common person, and common people don't go out intending to kill people. They just want to defend themselves and run away from that position. And she's already enough trouble with the court. So Yan Zheng steps in, helps her. And when he's being attacked, like when the guard comes and attacks him, she literally pulls him back by brute force. Like, that's the amount of strength that she has in her. This guy, this like 6 foot tall guy, she's able to basically hold on to the other end of the pole and still pull him back. Like, how hard that is, because she's not even in the center. She's at the other end of that pole, and she's able to propel this guy back. My mind was blown. And at no point did Yan Zheng question it, because he's like, oh, she's got brute strength, moving on. And I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly the way I imagined it when I was reading it. Like, it warms my heart in the way they've made Fan Chang Yu a normal, regular citizen. Like, people around her aren't just NPCs. They are people who have been with her entire life. Some are good to her, some are bad to her. But at the end of the day, they're still people. She's grown up in this area. She knows these people. She understands these people. And as horrific and painful the episodes of the Linan town massacre were, it also shows to highlight that, the higher ups, they often go out to wars, that, campaigns, because they want power. But the only person who suffers ultimately is the common man. Like, Linan town massacre was basically because this one guy went on an ego trip and he decided that, this town had to be massacred. Why? Because he was annoyed. Just that. It wasn't even a strategic thing, because all of the capable men had already been conscripted out of that place. They didn't even have fighters there. They were just old women, old men, children. And he still felt like he had to slaughter them because he felt annoyed. And then Fan Chang Yu completely lost it. And I think that was when we actually saw her pull out the killing moves. She wasn't fighting to defend, she was fighting to kill. And that is a gradual growth in her character, because she's never fought directly. She can kill. It's not a matter of if she can or she cannot. She can kill, but she chooses not to, because, like I said, as a common person, getting blood on your hands is a very big thing. It's something that sits on you. And even in episode 26, she's in a battlefield and she lets the person who operates the catapult go, because that is literally a child. So she lets him go. And up until then, she hadn't been fighting to kill, she'd been fighting to defend. But even when she's fighting Shihu, it's not like she went out of her way to try and find this guy and fight him. She knows her limitations. She knows she's not a soldier. She's just there as a proxy to her husband. So just because her husband doesn't get punished for it, doesn't get treated as a deserter, she's there to fill in the numbers. And her plan of cutting off a year of a corpse to justify her being there, not actually involving herself in the battle, was such a smart and such a realistic move, as realistic as it can be in the situation that we are dealing with. Because again, it's not realistic at all, but considering the setup of the character, Fan Chang Yu has never actually gone out and invited trouble. She's never stood in front of a crowd and be like, I'm a leader, I'm the main character of the story, treat me as such. That poor girl has been trying to survive all of this time. And even when she's in the middle of the battlefield and she who targets her specifically, that's when she starts to fight back. At first is defending, and then she goes on the offensive and basically pulls out the killing moves. But because trouble comes to her, since she already put that stunt, trouble obviously came to her and she who targeted her specifically, and first she defended and then she pulled out her killing move and basically killed that guy. And it's nice to see that, she's not completely overpowering him. She is getting strikes. She is being pushed back because this is supposed to be like this tank of a man. And, you know, she tries to figure out how to break free. And she doesn't dwell on the fact that, you know, her butcher's knife got broken. She distracts Shihu and then she tries and stabs him on vital points to disarm him, basically, because she cannot fight him with brute strength. She needs to use her brain, and she does. And I just loved it. I absolutely, completely loved it. And I completely love the way Fan Chang Yu has been shaped up across so many episodes, because she's intelligent, she's smart, she's resourceful, and she's basically running on fumes. Because in a matter of months, she's buried both of her parents. She's had to fight off her uncle, take care of her younger sister, try to keep the house, and then she's rescued this guy from the snow, basically tried to keep him alive, fend off advances from her lecherous ex-fiance, try to make a name for herself, basically keep them afloat financially. And then, you know, she's been basically thrown into this mix, and there's a war looming in the background. And trouble comes knocking on her door, and she's basically being thrown out in the battlefield. And it was just a happy coincidence that, you know, her dad taught her martial arts as a kid. But it's also a fact that, you know, all of this is accumulating on this girl, and she doesn't have a moment of rest. And she's basically being thrown around from one place to another. And in the middle, her husband that she basically had a spat with was conscripted against his will, according to her, the very next day. And then she had to defend her town against lecherous perverts. And then she comes home to find out, you know, her sister was kidnapped. The town was devastated. The people that she loved, the people that she grew up with, were killed one after the other. And she had to go out and find her sister, and then along the way find her husband and bring together their family, basically, with that's the only thing that she has left in this life now. That's the only thing that's holding her together. And, you know, this is why Chang Ning's line in the novel, I don't remember if they've actually done it in the show, but I very specifically remember in the novel, like after Chang Ning has been rescued, she says to Gong Soon Yin that, you know, I can cry in front of my sister, but my sister, she doesn't cry in front of anybody. That's why I need my Jefu, because that's the only person that my sister cries in front of. That child, with her emotional intelligence of 1,000, was able to recognize that, you know, my sister is suffering. And let me tell you, if anything happens to Fan Chang Ning and Yu Bao, I swear to God, I will burn this place down. Because these kids deserve the world. And Fan Chang Ning is the best written child character, sister character out there, because not only is this girl, you know, usually I'm sometimes a little bit annoyed by kids because of the way they're used as a plot device against the main characters, sons or daughters, and, you know, they basically turn against their mothers or their fathers the moment the other person appears, and which is not really realistical, but we'll get into that later. It's a lot to unpack, but or they're either stupidly villainous, stupid or naive, which basically is something that children do, but they are basically used as a plot device and not as people. And over here, Chang Ning, she is a person, she's a child, and her extreme obedience stems from the fact that it's just her and her sister. That is the only person that she's left. You know, even when Chang Ning and Fan Chang Yu meet Yu Bao and Yu Chen Chen, when Chen Chen offers Chang Ning something, she first looks at her sister for approval. You know, can I take it? And her sister nods. She takes it because she knows that this is the one person in the world who's going to be there for me. And slowly that shifts over to her Jefu, Yan Zheng, because not only has he rescued her from bad guys, but she's also seen the way he interacts with her sister. Her sister trusts him, so she trusts him. To her, everything is tied to her sister. Why? Because it's a survival instinct for this girl at this point. And to experience something so tragic at such a young age, it's completely left her dependent on her sister. And she understands that. She knows that. And Chang Ning is the best sister. And why is this not a 60 episodes drama? Like, I swear to God, I would love to see domestic Fan Chang Yu, Fan Chang Ning, Xie Zheng for like the last 10 episodes. I swear to God. I wish they'd adapted the side stories. Like, and Yu Bao, like that poor child, he's been tortured left, right, and center. You know, the first time Ximing appeared on my screen, he was this dark, brooding hero, right? And then he basically started manhandling Yu Chin Chin. I was like, I don't like you that much. And then he started doing his weird shit. And now I genuinely, truly want the ending that they have in the novel. I do not want him alive at the end of it. He does not deserve it. I want Yu Chin Chin to be alive and well and healthy and on her own with her child that she has basically almost killed herself to protect. Though she deserves all of the happiness in the world. And this guy, as long as he's around, he's not going to give it to her. And I feel like we all need to accept that, and we need to pray for this guy to disappear from her side. Yuzu Chin Chin is amazing. She's awesome. And I wish we had seen more of her, but I don't think we can because we don't have the time. And apparently, it's not a spoiler per se, because I feel like a lot of people might have figured it out. She's supposed to be a time traveler. Well, it's not explicitly mentioned, but it's alluded to the fact that, Yu Chin might be a time traveler because, she's talking about cavities, she's doing all of these present world things like discounts and stuff. So she might be a time traveler in the original story. And she basically, I think she woke up after Qiming and Yu Chin got together. Qiming knows that, she does not belong from this world. And, his entire time he's trying to figure out, where are you from? Because, he says that, you used to be somebody else and you basically changed later on. So he's smart. He's genuinely smart. And I love the fact that, all of the people in the story are smart. They're intelligent. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid one-sidedly bad or stupid one-sidedly good. All of the sides involved, they're smart. They're trying to understand what's happening. They're trying to grasp the facts and they're working off of it. And every side is fighting a war against one another. You never know who's going to turn on who. Can I just say, I absolutely loved the scene where the dam explodes, because it's like watching a blockbuster movie. I cannot tell you. It's a very good use of CGI, practical effects. And I really love the fact that, the director, because he knows he has a budget, right? He has money now. And he has used it on the absolute best things. And I'm completely looking forward to his next project. Please, please, please lock this director up in Hongdian and have him shoot every single of the costume dramas, because he knows what he's doing. He absolutely knows what he's doing. And as long as you keep giving him money, I'm 100% sure he's going to keep churning out masterpieces. But that being aside, that's also a good study in character, because usually I skip over the whole court politics thing because it's quite stupid a lot of times. It does not make sense. And even though I'm not saying it's very intelligent court politics over here, it's at least bearable. Nobody's super stupid or super smart. Everybody's at the same level intellectually. I would say some people are not, but that's another argument. Like this, they're supposed to be stupid because they're being kept in the dark and they're more dangerous. And I would love to see the way Su Yuanqing reacts to the fact that his brother is not really his brother. He's not on his side, and how the whole thing implodes in his face. And can I just say, I love the fact Chang Yu standing up on the cliff with heir apparent. She's so frustrated because she's like, you guys have been gambling house collectors for such a long time. Do you not know the way to completely humiliate a person? And they pulled his pants down, right? So he's basically in underwear. And Chang Yu was like, she kept hearing heir apparent, right? She's like, you know what? If you don't hand over all the meat and the sword and basically your rations, I'm going to make sure your heir apparent cannot have an heir in the future. Because that is such a Chang Yu thing to do. And it took her a second, but she figured it out. And Jade was like standing on the next cliff. She was just like watching the show. But I like the fact that he stood on the opposite end, but he had people go and support her. And then later on, Fan Chang Yu felt the consequences of her actions because it's still the military, right? You can't just go and act like a hooligan. And even though she was quite in high spirits, we're going to get rewarded. Instead, Jade came in and he laid down the law, which I think was a very funny scene, but also a very necessary scene, because if one person starts flouting the military discipline, a lot of people are going to follow, thinking this is going to get them rewarded. And it's going to be a problem because in the military, hierarchy is a thing. There's a reason why they have strategists. There's a reason why there's so many people putting their heads together, because every person has a plan, and Zhang had a plan, and Fan Chang Yu did not, had no understanding of what was happening. She was basically acting on instinct. And the only reason why she was able to get away with it was because she got lucky. And there might not be a next time. Next time, it might act against her. And it's not only dangerous for her, it's dangerous for anybody who goes out of the way to try and earn merit in the military, because the more merit you earn, the higher position you go to and the more money you get as pension. Because everybody wants to climb up the ladder, right? But it's also a very dangerous sentiment in the military, especially if you're in wartime. But that scene was hilarious. Because you're telling me Zhejiang got back from the standoff, sat down, wrote what he wanted Shewu, I think it was Shewu who was sitting up there, wrote on the paper basically what Shewu has to say, and then waited out while Fan Chang Yu and the pig butchering gang were being arrested and taken to the tent and being told off. And when he realized, Shewu is fumbling, he can't keep it up anymore, walks in himself and basically completes his thoughts and forces his hand to punish him. But like I said, it's also quite necessary. And then you have a royal princess. It was also incognito. So everybody over here is basically working incognito. You have a princess walk in and try and kneel down in front of a marquess, which is so many levels of bad because, over here she's incognito. But if this reaches to the emperor, it's basically they're having a member of the royal family kneel in front of a marquess, which is like all kinds of bad. And everybody's basically sweating bullets until even Zhejiang, until Gong Sun-yin basically walks in and takes the whole situation under control. And it was kind of funny because Xie Zhang wanted to teach Fan Chang Yu and, her lackeys and everybody basically a lesson, but then he himself got taught a lesson by the princess. And the way everybody's basically pretending to be someone else. And to be fair, at first I thought it was a little stupid, Fan Chang Yu hiding and drugging an entire person and basically taking their place. But then I realized, Yan Zheng was supposed to be a foot soldier. He's not supposed to have a rank that high in the military because his armor is basically the standard military issued armor. And I feel like that is something that was pointed out when Yan Zheng and Fan Chang Yu have the conversation about how it's not guilt that motivated her to go up the mountain and basically try and find Yan Zheng. It was because she almost died on this journey, and the only thing that she was regretful of that she won't be able to see him one last time. So it's not guilt, it's basically something more. And when they hug, the camera pans out and the armor is very much in the frame with them. So it's basically saying, this is going to come into play later. And when the day before the war breaks out, she's in his tent and she's basically measuring his armor because she knows that he's quite badly injured and there's a very good chance he won't be able to go to the battlefield and come out alive. So she's measuring the armor, she's fitting it according to her measurements. And because Xie Zhang or Yan Zheng is so open towards her, he has no inhibitions. That's his wife for all intents and purposes. He doesn't suspect anything. If anything, he fumbles in front of her by saying that the guy who she met in the quarry can be promoted later on, which is not something a mere foot soldier would say, but it is within his capability as the person whose name is literally on the banner hanging outside in the army. So he's slowly starting to lose himself and basically giving out his real thoughts. He was so happy when hypothetically he asked her, what will happen if I become a Lord Marquess? And she was like, oh, I'll just be the Marchioness. And he was like, be still my beating heart. And I feel like he would have confessed to her right there and then, had it not been like a big thing, had there not be a war going on in the background. He would have been like, I am a Marquess, so please be my Marchioness. And I love the way no shot is wasted. Everything is foreshadowed. Like when they're in the market, when they're a happy family during the New Year's, Yan Zheng puts his hair ribbon around her, like the hair ribbon. When Fan Chang Yu gives it to him, he basically tries to put it around the falcon's injured leg and she's quite cross with him. So he cleans it up himself, a Marquess, washing his own hair ribbon because his wife got sulky about it. And then, he wears it. And when they're out in the streets during the New Year's, he basically pulls it around her hair to tidy it up because, he likes seeing something of his on her. And when they break up in the snow, in the struggle, he only ends up having the hair ribbon, something that was initially given to him, a piece of her basically in her hand. And when he falls down, he's back in the snow, he's back in the blue parts with the flame no longer touching him because the reason of his warmth in this life is gone now. He's back to being the cold and feeling Marquess. And then, the falcon gives back the hair ribbon to Fan Chang Yu. And later on, it's the ribbon that basically leads her towards Yan Zheng's tent. And once they find each other, the armor starts coming into view. When they first see each other in the tent, the hair ribbon is beside the armor. And then, when they finally talk it out, the hair ribbon is in the shot when they pan out. And then finally, Fan Chang Yu takes Yan Zheng's place in the army. And like I said, it's so beautifully played out. Even when in the Linan Town massacre, it gave me chills because there's this shot which I genuinely thought that, it's such an awkward shot where it's like it moves up, slowly moves up because, you're seeing the burning city and it's a very blurry shot, but it's like the camera is being pulled up 1, 2, 3. And I thought for sure it's like a mistake, right? And then later on you see the county magistrate is being hung from the city wall. So what we were seeing before was basically what the county magistrate was seeing when he was being hung from the city wall. It gave me chills. And I genuinely went back and watched it. And to have that kind of emotional intelligence, because, you're not seeing a war from Fan Chang Yu or Xie Zhang or anyone else's perspective. You're seeing this war from the perspective of the people who are being slaughtered. Because while they might not have a stake in this war, they are the ones who are being affected. Ultimately, the burden falls on them. They are the ones who are being incited as rebels. They are the ones who are being the victims, the perpetrators. It's them, the people, the common man who is suffering. And that is something that Fan Chang Yu is, a common man who ends up becoming something more as the story progresses. Once you start seeing it from the perspective, you start having a stake in the story, you start feeling bad for these people because usually NPCs just get cut down and then they're forgotten. But Fan Chang Yu once she leaves the Linan town, once she goes to the quarry, she remembers everybody. Your sister, your mother. And then when she meets Uncle Zhao in the military tent, they still remember the people that have fallen, because these are the people that they grew up with. Why would they not talk about them? And it's also a good moment of growth for this character, because she's slowly surviving this world. She started off as being defensive, and now she's on the offense. She's killing people, and she's not allowed to feel bad for it, because, you know, if she hadn't, something bad would have happened, like with the spy that basically got her into the quarry, or with the man that, you know, she killed on the battlefield. It's not easy for her still. It's quite hard, but she has to do it because she has no other choice. That is the trade-off that you have to do. And watching that from episode 1 to episode 26 has been an absolute journey, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. Like I was watching the Lidan town scenes, and I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop in the first 5-6 episodes, and then I just completely forgot about it, because, you know, there's a war going on in the background, but everything is so beautiful, everything is so pretty, everything is so domestic. Even with Fan Chang Yu's shenanigans, even with Yan Zheng switching between two identities, and it was still a peaceful time, you know. And, you know, cracks are starting to appear, but you just wish for one more episode, one more time, you know, New Year's Eve, when everyone comes to Fan Chang Yu's house to get the New Year's Eve couplets getting written down, and at the end, when I think it was Granny Wang who was the antagonizing granny, she came in and, you know, she wants a couplet for New Year to be written, and Yan Zheng is basically just standing there waiting for Fan Chang Yu to react and say something. He doesn't step in, and he doesn't say no, he doesn't say yes, he doesn't give her a cold look. He's just looking at Fan Chang Yu for directions. Basically, whatever you say, whatever you do, I respect it and I will do it. And that is character development. That is the way they have started growing onto each other, depending on each other, trying to understand each other. And that is one of the reasons why Fan Chang Yu felt so betrayed, felt so hurt by the way Yan Zheng reacted when they were out around the fire, and the reason why they broke up in the first place, because to her it was like, my husband's sulky, we just had a spat, he's gone out, maybe he's left, but he will probably come back. But when she heard, you know, he was conscripted along the way, it was only because he married into a household. Basically, one man from every household needs to be in the army if you have guys. She felt bad, you know, she felt like it was all her fault, because had it not been for her, had it not been for the fight, Yan Zheng would have gone out, would have gotten caught, and basically had they divorced beforehand, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. And that's her initial motivation for the whole thing. And then she's so realizing it's not just guilt, it's love, because she keeps remembering him, she keeps thinking about him. Like the first day he left, she hallucinated about him, like the Marquis of Wuhan personally making hand braces for a butcher's daughter. If that wasn't romantic, I don't know what is. And we've seen these people go through ups and downs with each other. We've seen these two people lose their minds over each other, because Yan Zheng only wanted to say to her that, you know, wait for me for 2 years while I fight this battle and hopefully come back to you. But, you know, he doesn't know how to say it out loud, so it just ended up both of them taking out the bitterness onto each other, and eventually just like, let's just walk away. It wasn't meant to be permanent, because I have a feeling that even though Yan Zheng walked away that night, had he won his military campaign, had he come back to Linan town, he would have found Fan Chang Yu eventually, and she would have waited for him. They would have been together either way. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that basically serves the purpose of the story. You know, these two people, they're basically meant to be with each other. And we haven't even scratched the surface of Fan Chang Yu's parents yet, which I believe we are going to do it. Because if the whole thing doesn't come out by episode 30, it's going to be a mad dash towards the end, because it's only 40 episodes. And can you hear my heart breaking? Because they should have gotten some special permission to basically increase the episode count and maybe make 2 seasons off of it. I swear to God, I would have paid money to watch it, but beggars can't be chosen. So if they finally bring out Fan Chang Yu's parent story by episode 30, the last 10 episodes is basically going to be her trying to exonerate her parents, Yan Zheng or Xie Zheng, understanding his feelings, basically coming to Fan Chang Yu and saying, like, I do not care who your parents are, what they've done. I love you and I want to be with you. And Fan Chang Yu basically going to the path of becoming a general, because she wants to make something of herself so she can stand beside Xie Zheng and not be belittled, not have him be belittled by anybody else. You know, I'm somebody who's worthy of standing by your side, and everybody else basically hopefully getting the happy ending. Because I think apart from Tang Bei, up until now, I do not think anybody who wasn't supposed to die has died. So they're sticking to the story quite well. And even the change that they've made, like Fan Chang Yu finally finding out who Xie Zheng is, have actually worked out in the favor of the story. Because while I did like the rooters of the original scene, it's everywhere on Twitter. You can find it. It's beautiful. It's pretty. Like it looks like a shot from the drama. But I actually, and please don't kill me, but I actually like the change that they made, because Fan Chang Yu, she might not be as literate, as well read as the people around her, but she's smart. She has a good head on her shoulders, and so far everything adds up in her mind the moment she sees her husband riding towards her, and everybody's rejoicing over the Marquis of Wuhan finally making an appearance. And then you see her husband wearing an elaborate armor, riding forefront in the middle, and everybody basically bowing to him. And everything just starts making so much more sense. Why the Marquis of Wuhan the other day was stuttering in front of a mere foot soldier, and why he was able to so nonchalantly say that, oh, we can grant him a place in the military, or why he has so many names, because so far everybody's called him a different name. Like I swear to God, Gong Sun Yin at some point has called him Ju Hung, which is, I think, his given name or something. And everything just made so much more sense. And she's just killed a person in cold blood. She's just been through a life-changing event, and now she finds out that, this person that she has 110% trust in, the person that she risked her life to come towards a military camp, the person that she talks about rescuing, she talks about raising as her matriarchal husband, the person that she talks about being just her husband, is actually the decorated Marquess of Wuhan, whose name is basically on the banner, Xie Zheng. And she runs away because she needs to process this, saying, this is too much shit for me. And he basically, you can see it play out on his face. He's furious, and then he's happy to see her, and then he realized that, she realizes the jig is up, she knows, and then she turns around and runs away, and his face crumbles the moment she turns around, because he knows that, he has messed up, and to him, like in his head, that's basically his wife, right, for all intents and purposes. And I cannot wait for Xie Zheng to finally shed his Yanzheng skin and show his true colors as the Marquis of Wuhan, because in the novel he's quite extreme at some points, and I do not know how much of it they would be able to adapt, because it is a Chinese drama, so they do have some censorship rules. And so far, his tendencies do peak out, like when Fan Chang Yu was attacked by the rival butcher, when she and Yu Chen were coming back to Fan Chang Yu's house, and he took one of Fan Chang Yu's knife and used it to have that guy spit out the entire truth. So you can see his Xie Zheng tendencies speaking out here and there. And now he's basically in his entire full form, so nobody needs to whitewash him, and he can basically do what he wants, as he is, rather than having to borrow one of his subordinates and basically give them a stroke. So it's going to be quite fun to see that, and it's going to be quite fun to see Xie Zheng finally let his hair out, and how Fan Chang Yu reacts to this, and how she goes on with her life after this, because I have seen the trailers, and they look good, but they're like basically seconds long, and the episode is like 45 minutes. So I have faith in the director, as long as they don't rush things, as long as they don't have the stupid love triangle, which it hurt my heart a little to see one of the pig butcher gang member make moony eyes at Fan Chang Yu. Because why? What was the requirement? You're wasting time. You've so much stuff to cover. But I trust the director, and I see what they've been building up so far, and I hope they can keep up the quality up until the last episode. If they do, I swear to God, this would be their favorite go-to drama of all times, because they have the resources, they have the people, like they have the actors. Like Zhang Linghe, he's basically played another cracked in the head Xie character before in Story of Kunning Palace, was with Xie Juan, Xi Wei, and then he played this completely green flag character, He Suye, who was, even though he was supposed to be green flag, he did have his own manipulative streaks. So I think Xie Zheng is basically, I wouldn't say a midway between both of the characters, because he's definitely was Xie Juan, Story of Kunning Palace type character, but he does have his moments. And then there's Ten Shi Wei, and you've got good characters, you've got good actors, you've got Deng Kai. Like, have you seen Butterfly Lovers? I loved him so much. And Kong Shuo, she's one of my favorites for such a long time, and I'm so glad to see her playing a positive character for once. And you've got a good cast, you've got a good director, you've got a decent writer, you've got money. If you fail this, I swear to God, I will haunt you in your dreams, because I loved it from the moment the trailer dropped. I loved it from the moment I hit play on that first episode. And please keep up the momentum. Do not go too much into court politics. I want to see more of these people's journeys while the war plays out in the background. Do not make it a forefront thing. And please just keep on moving as you have been. Show, don't tell has been the rule so far, and I'm loving the way they're showing things rather than telling it to us, rather than spoon feeding it to us. Like take episode 26 for example, when Chang Yu comes in and tells Yan Zheng that, you know, I should go in place of you in the battle, you should let me join. And Yan Zheng's like, no. And she's like, okay, she lets it go. She helps him with his clothes, basically distracts him. It's business as usual. If she insists too much, he would understand that, you know, something's off, but she doesn't. She just leaves it as is. And then she gives him the bowl of medicine. And while he's drinking it, you can see the change in her expression. Nobody has said a word until now. We haven't seen Chang Yu acquire suspicious medicine. We haven't seen anything out of the ordinary so far. And then suddenly he feels weak. And, you know, it cuts to 1 second of Chang Yu holding a bottle in her hand. Basically, she's put something in the medicine. And then that masterful shot. Basically, Xie Zhangfei loses his grip on the bowl first, which she catches, and then she catches him next because she doesn't want to alert people outside. And then, you know, she's basically looking absolutely conflicted, sad, but also resolute at the same time, because this is wrong. She shouldn't have drugged her own husband. She is going to leave behind her young sister, but she has to do this because the person that she loves is going out in the battlefield and can potentially be killed because he's quite injured, and was injured saving her sister, by the way. And she's fine, she's hale-hearty, she's able-bodied, and she can take his place. So she's going to do that. And it basically took a couple of seconds to show the entire thing. And even with Fan Chang Yu, like everybody telling Chang Ning to basically turn around or count till 10 or even count till 500, but she doesn't know that much counting, so she basically had a count to 50 and then plays a stone to keep track of it. Chang Ning is going to be a mathematical genius by the end of this thing. Like, I swear to God, that child has been counting so much. She's going to become the top accountant in the entire country because everybody keeps making her count things. And I still cannot get over the fact that, you know, they've set up Fan Chang Yu as a normal person. She's not well-read, she's not literate. She basically belongs to a butcher's family, and she acts like it, she talks like it, she behaves like it. She doesn't one day suddenly acquire good mannerism. She doesn't suddenly one day know how to read military intelligence. She's still quite rough in her mannerism. She's still quite airheaded in the way she talks to people, in the way she understands things. Like Chi Bengong, that's not even a name. Bengong means, like, you know, a higher authority person telling I, but because they don't say I, they're like this princess. And to her, it's like a name, because that's the kind of upbringing that she has had. And that's the kind of upbringing that she's bringing to the table at the moment. She doesn't suddenly one day end up becoming a great general. She doesn't jump into battles that don't belong to her until she's provoked. She doesn't step forward, and she's not a Mary Sue. I love her for it. I absolutely love her for it. And I love the fact that, you know, Yan Zheng is softy for his wife, and you can see it in his face. He laughs, he cries, he hugs her, he takes care of her sister, he's soft, he smiles. And I think Love Like the Galaxy was probably the last show that I enjoyed so much, being a historical drama, having so much going on in the background and in the forefront, but I still followed it through, like every episode. And had Pursuit of Jade been that episode length, I would have watched it until the very end, I swear to God. And please give us a good conclusion. Like I still have so much to say about the way they ended Love Like the Galaxy. Like, the ending still takes me out, and I hope they, you know, they at least give us a good ending. But yeah, we still have a couple of episodes to go, so fingers crossed, hopefully it all pans out. And you will probably hear me rant about or rave about the last couple of episodes once I'm done obsessing over it. But yeah, fingers crossed they maintain this quality and give us the drama that we've basically been hoping for, rooting for these last 26 episodes. And if you want to hear me rant or rave about other dramas, you can catch my previous episodes on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music Podcast, Audible, and Substack as well. And you can leave me comments on Substack, on Spotify, on YouTube, and let me know your thoughts about how you're liking and or loving The Pursuit of Jade so far. And thank you so much for joining me for this episode, and thank you so much for hearing me rave about The Pursuit of Jade. And I will see you guys next time. Until then, I hope you guys are safe and having a good week. Until then, ciao.